I cried or if I laughed. I just remember I want my money back. I can't remember if it sucked or if I had a blast. All I know is at the end of the show, when the credits rolled, it said Filmtopiacast 3000.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Filmtopiacast 3000. I'm your host, Greg McIver, and with me is my excellent co-host,
Nicky Boom Boom.
Nicky Boom Boom. Well, on today's episode, we are going to talk about the thrilling new series on ABC, Nashville, starring Hayden Panettiere and some other...
I think you said her name wrong. It's Panini
Hayden
Terry.
Hayden Panini?
Hayden Panini Terry.
Hayden Panettiere, yeah. I don't want to talk about that. Actually, we're going to talk about some movies, in particular one that I saw just this past week, Taken 2, Electric Boogaloo. I didn't like Taken 2. Anyway, moving on to our next topic, I think we're going to talk about some upcoming movie.
I think you should say one or two things about what you did or didn't like. Probably more in column B about Taken 2, especially since I just heard tell that I guess it did well enough at the box office that they're gonna make a Taken 3. That's the rumor now.
Oh God!
Despite the critics basically agreeing with your assessment here.
Yeah. I walked into this really dead set against what the critics were saying, because I was just assuming, they don't know how to enjoy a movie, Taken, the original wasn't any masterpiece, but it was still a fun movie. I can only imagine this is more of the same. No, they're absolutely right. This movie was awful. There's a lot of things going wrong with this movie, unfortunately. When we talked about Taken 2 in one of our earlier episodes, I said I was excited about it because the premise was...
I was excited about it too. I think we both really enjoyed Taken. It's a great movie. It's a great action movie.
Taken is a lot of fun. It's, again, it's not the most, thoughtful movie you'll ever see, but it's got some good action and it's got some things going on for it that this one just doesn't have. Again, we were both excited about this movie because it seemed like they were going an interesting route by having the villains of the piece be relatives of the bad guys from the first one, of all the people that he killed. So this was sort of like a revenge story, and I thought, that's going to make sort of an interesting morality play, yes, I killed your sons, but your sons kidnapped my daughter, and I thought there was going to be some good interplay on that, and it's wasted. The villain basically just says, I don't care, and that's it. Just sort of dropped the subject, which to me sort of renders the idea of these guys being related to the first guys almost pointless. Why don't you just have a random kidnapping, We would have bought that. I mean...
if you're not going to explore the emotional content you've set up,
yes.
It's why even set it up at all?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. That was one of the problems with it. There were some odd moments just in the movie all throughout that, just kind of took me by surprise. Liam Neeson has a couple towards the very beginning where it's just because I love Liam Neeson. He's a fine actor. He's great in anything that he does. I'm not saying everything he's done has been great, but he is great in pretty much everything he does. And there are just some odd moments in this where when his ex-wife tells him that his daughter has a boyfriend, his reaction is wrong. His reaction is wrong.
Dear Mr. Neeson, your reactions are wrong.
Your reaction in this case was wrong. The director went with the wrong take because as a father, you should show concern for your daughter's well-being by the fact that she does have a new boyfriend. You could show anger, which would be humorous. You could show the usual standard, father type, my little girl boyfriend, no, she's never going to date her, something like that. But his reaction was, I basically was waiting him to be like, she betrayed me. She said she would wait for me. It's like, dude, it's your daughter, not your girlfriend. So that kind of, struck me as odd. And there were just odd little moments like that throughout the film where just, I don't know, just stupid things were said and done, Neeson and his ex-wife go out of the hotel to have like lunch together, and the daughter stays behind. And the guy that's staking out the hotel, one of the bad guys, calls his boss and is just like, the daughter is staying behind, but the parents are leaving for lunch. This plan cannot work. And it's like, what? There's a whole bunch of you. One of you go after the daughter, and then the others go after the parents. So what's so difficult about that? Or one of them bursts into a hotel room and shoots a guy, and the gunshot kind of alerts the security, and like his partner like comes up and sees him standing over the body of the dead man. He just kind of looks at him dumbly and is just like, I just shot this man. And like there's a small pause, and it's just kind of like, and then they kind of go and get, doing what they need to do, and it was just kind of
very herky-jerky, and
it's very
just,
herky-jerky.
Like, weird moments all throughout.
It's very herky-jerky, and by the fact that the premise was made boring because they didn't do anything with the emotional content that they were trying to set up, or at least they, I guess, maybe initially had in mind with the whole were related to the villains of the first one. The action was kind of boring because the stakes weren't quite as high. The first one was, I think, so popular, and the reason a lot of us, liked it was because, this was a man who was desperate to get his daughter back, and you saw him go to great lengths in order to accomplish this, like, really pushing the envelope as what was, going to be acceptable, finding his friend in France and like threatening to shoot his wife or something like that. I think he does shoot the wife.
He does shoot her. He shoots her in the leg.
Shoots her in the leg. I mean, like, my God, but this is the man that we're supposed to be rooting for. But he's doing awful stuff. But at the same time, it's for the sake of his daughter. And how many people out there that watching this have children would like to imagine they would be able to do the same thing in these circumstances. So.
Well, it reminds me of I just watched a review of Judge Dredd, which we talked about before, and we liked very much also as an action movie. And somebody was saying that they think it works in the character's favor and in the writer's favor that there's not a lot of characterization of Judge Dredd. He just is what he is.
He's a force of nature.
He's a force of nature. And I think that's kind of the vibe I got from Neeson's character in the first Taken. It's like, it doesn't really matter what his interests are or like who he is as a person. We know he's a secret agent that has spent his whole life doing secret agent things.
Right.
He's divorced and estranged from his daughter. And, the whole characterization is just like, hey, listen, I've been around the world and I've seen some things. Don't let her do this. Don't let her do this. Don't let her do this. Oh, you let her do it. Now she's kidnapped. And the force of nature aspect comes in the fact that it is his daughter, and he will do anything to get her back.
Exactly. It almost, worked better in the first one that the villains were sort of faceless. It was better than this lame-ass attempt of, like, trying to give them a backstory and then just not following through with it. Plus, what the first one had going for it that this one kind of lacks is you really went on a journey with him in the first take, and where you start like the really seedy bottom of the underground world in Paris, with the prostitutes and the pimps and the drugs and such. And as his journey continues and he's finding more and more information about where his daughter is, he slowly progresses up in the underworld until by the very end, he's at like the posh rich mansion where all the sultans and the rich people, are bidding on girls, which is awful. But so it was an interesting journey, through the underground all the way up to the top to sort of see the evolution of, all right, rich people, are involved with posh and awful things, but this has to start somewhere, and you kind of see where it begins and where it ends. So even though I don't think that was the main point of the movie.
Dante's Inferno type of tour.
Sort of, in a way. And so that wasn't the main point of the first movie, but it certainly, I think, added something to it and, made for an interesting story where you don't get any of this here. Again, the action isn't quite as exciting because the story isn't nearly as interesting. And there's one car chase scene which is really kind of stupid because earlier in the film, they established that his daughter, Kim, hasn't passed her driver's test yet.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, wah, wah. And, she's taken it several times, but she's just not good. So she ends up driving the car during this chase scene while he's shooting, and I guess it's supposed to be, like, some glorified weird, like, driving lesson. Well, I mean, aside from the fact that all he really does throughout the entire scene is just say things like, go, do it, go, do it, go. Seriously, over and over and over again, and then 50% of the scene is either close-ups of her turning the wheel or a close-up of her, foot pushing the pedal. And the rest of the scene is so choppy, save for one or two spectacular stunts, which could never have been pulled off by a first-time driver. So,
I mean, that's how I learned to drive.
oh, is that how you learned it?
Yeah, I mean, like,
You went to Istanbul and Liam Neeson got into a car with you and said, "Go, do it."
Liam Neeson didn't teach you how to drive while hitting you with a fan belt and screaming at you?
I
mean, I thought...
So many things I have missed out in this world. No, unfortunately, that's not how I learned to drive.
So, I'm disappointed that you were disappointed with this movie, and now I don't want to go to see it.
I mean, I know.
I might catch it on video or something.
Yeah, I mean, and in the end, like with anything on the show, this is just my and your opinion,
Well, yeah, but a lot of people agree with
a
you.
lot of people do agree.
It got 20% freshness on Rotten Tomatoes, Taken 2 did. I think one critic suggested it should be taken to the back of the theater and thrown away in the dumpster.
Not a bad suggestion, witty chap. Not a bad suggestion at all.
For those that don't know, Rotten Tomatoes goes on
It's a tomato meter. Basically, anything less than 60% positive is considered rotten, and then 60% on is considered fresh.
So 20% is not very good.
20% means that most critics hated this.
Yeah.
And I don't very well blame them, because this was a very disappointing movie. Again, I wasn't expecting high art. I was pretty much expecting what I got from the first one, and it didn't have that, so...
Now, did it have... One thing we've talked about with Taken was the kind of like roller coaster, rocket ride sort of pace that it had going for it. You just kind of hold on and it goes. Did it... And we kind of compared it to Crank in that way. Did it have that, or did it have the, like, we're trying weekly to recreate that and add in some new things that suck, like Crank 2?
The second thing that you said,
Okay.
It did not have the drive and the pace that the first Taken had. Had it had that, I think some of the earlier awkward moments that I mentioned would have been more easily forgiven, or you just plain overlooked, because you're just in the midst of this adventurous story, and who gives a crap if people are doing stupid things because you're in the moment. But it didn't have that. It gets off to a much slower start than the first Taken. And it was just a lot choppier, and so that was one of the problems with it as well. Just a very disappointing follow-up overall. I mean, all you really had to do with this movie was frickin' stir and repeat. People would have been acceptable had it been just more of the same, but they were half-assed about it, and they tried to do something different, but not really though. And then it just fell. If
you're gonna try to do something radically different from the first movie, you got to really commit. Whereas it sounds like they just kind of dipped their toe in the water.
Exactly. It would have been perfectly acceptable had this been another kidnapping. I'm not saying kidnap the daughter again, but the wife, or I'm not even against the idea that he was kidnapped, or something like that. And then it's about him trying to get free. Something, that's fine, but just don't go this half-assed attempt of we will avenge our loved ones from the first one, and then just have it fall flat and not be interesting at all. It was and there's a really lame boss battle towards the end where...
You told me about there's some fat tracksuit guy that
is
the boss battle.
Yeah, this is the boss battle for the movie. Liam Neeson goes up against a fat tracksuit man who's about 2 feet shorter than him, and again is very pudgy, and like they're circling each other, and the music is intense, and it was really funny because in the audience that I was in, everyone was kind of leaning forward all intense, and I literally had tears streaming down my eyes because it was just so ridiculous. This is the man that we've only seen for maybe a minute before this scene. You see him at the very beginning, kind of torturing somebody, and then that's it. You don't really get a good, feel for him for the rest of the movie, and then he appears again, and his slow, pudgy figure circles Neeson, who's again about 7 feet taller than him. You should have just really held out one arm and just let the guy, swing. That would really have just been the easiest thing to do. Maybe not as cinematic, but so just overall a very disappointing movie, very silly in some aspects, and just it didn't have any heart and soul like the first one did. So. Taken 2, don't go and see it.
All right, well let's leave that in the rear view and not speak of it again until Taken 3 inevitably hits theaters here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some better things.
Okay.
What's some good stuff coming out soon that we've heard tell?
Well, this weekend is actually...
This weekend's a good weekend. I've been looking forward to this weekend for a while.
Yeah, this weekend's got some really good stuff coming out. We talked about in some of our earlier episodes, a couple of movies that we're really looking forward to. Sinister, which is the latest horror film to be released, starring the great and powerful Ethan Hawke.
Who I occasionally, well, I will admit is a good actor, but sometimes want to punch in the throat.
He's a fine actor, but...
something smarmy about him.
Something smarmy about him, and Nick just envisions a lot of throat punching.
Mostly I enjoy him, and then every once in a while it's like, your throat, my fist.
Nah, but again,
especially his Hamlet. But anyway.
Wow, okay, that's
a whole other ball of wax.
Indeed.
Seven Psychopaths comes out this weekend,
yes.
which I'm super excited about. It's by my favorite playwright and actually Academy Award-winning filmmaker,
right? Yeah,
Martin McDonagh, who he won an Oscar for Best Short Film a few years ago with his movie called Six Shooter.
Yeah.
And Walken's in that one.
Walken is in it. You've got, I think, Mr. Woody Harrelson is in it. Colin Farrell's doing his thing.
Yeah. A couple of really attractive women whose names I don't remember.
A couple of really hot women whose names I don't remember either. Tom Waits is in it too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Nice.
Tom Waits is in it. I think
seems like a movie Tom Waits could be in.
Yeah.
And then
crazy.
I don't know how still to pronounce this man's name,
Zeljko Ivanek.
Yeah,
he's a really good
we like him a lot.
Character actor. He's been in so many good things, ranging from Homicide: Life on the Street to the show Oz on HBO. He keeps popping up in a lot of mainstream movies as well.
And I think he was in the original cast of a famous play called Master Harold and the Boys.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So very good actor with a hard to pronounce name.
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor. You know, he never quite reached Hollywood A-level status.
But great character.
Character actor who consistently gets good work. So he's coming out in this, and he's also in the new Ben Affleck movie. Ben Affleck is our pet name for Mr. Ben Affleck. Argo, which is coming out this weekend as well, and Mr. Zeljko Ivanek is in that as well. So,
okay. Well, let's talk about that because we talked a little bit about Sinister and about Seven Psychopaths in previous recordings. Let's talk about Argo a little bit and about the film career of Mr. Ben Affleck.
Mr. Ben Affleck. Mr. Affleck has got a bad rap for a while, and
well, he had a few years of not making smart casting choices.
That's the thing. He didn't make smart casting choices. Well, I mean, financially he did.
Sure, yeah.
He's,
absolutely.
He's no dunce when it comes to that. But just not the best movies. But again, I think
which has given the impression that he's not a good actor, which is not true.
Which is false. He's a fine actor.
Yeah.
He's never really done a bad job that I can remember at the very least.
No, he's been in terrible things like Daredevil.
Oh, Daredevil.
Which he's gone on record to go ahead and say like, yeah, I didn't like that movie.
Oh wow.
I'm sorry.
Oh okay. Well, at least he's honest. Yeah, good old Daredevil. Oh, you never miss. Wait, hold still. I'm gonna throw something at you. I missed. I never miss.
Oh, me hands. You got me drinking hand.
And me drinking hand. Oh, Mr. Colin Farrell. The best part about that movie was Mr. Colin Farrell as Bullseye.
He was a fun Bullseye.
He was a very fun Bullseye. Bad movie, fun Bullseye. So yeah, Ben Affleck is not a bad actor. He's just made some, iffy decisions in the past. But, in the past couple of years, he's basically sort of reinvented himself as like a really fantastic Hollywood director.
Mm-hmm.
Gone Baby Gone was an incredible movie.
I was very impressed with Gone Baby Gone. It was a great movie about, if you don't know, Gone Baby Gone is starring his younger brother, Casey Affleck, who's very good in it.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
It's about, he's a private detective, and it's about a child gone missing in the Massachusetts area, and their search to find and reclaim the missing child.
Right.
And there's a whole conspiracy aspect to it, which sounds lame when I say it out loud, but it's actually really well done.
No, it's incredibly well done. Mr. Affleck definitely has a good eye for making cinema. So
the mother in the film, there's basically a big moral question of like, does this woman deserve to have her child back? Like, it's her negligence that got the child taken away from her. She's like not a very good mom. She's like somebody that like had a child too early and couldn't deal with it and just wants to go out and party and anyway, very good movie.
No, definitely recommend it. And then
he also made The Town.
You follow that up with The Town, which was a very, very good movie as well. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, I would say, but it was just consistently well done. It kept you interested the entire time. It set up a very interesting sort of world where I didn't really know that about that part of the world.
No, I didn't know that either.
The bank robbery capital of the world, or like armored car robbery capital of the world.
It's this small part of Boston that just like so many armed robbers and bank robbers have come out of this district of Boston.
So that was, I thought that's
very interesting.
Kind of interesting, and again, it was just really intense. A lot of great characters in it. Jeremy Renner giving a friggin'
he's fantastic,
amazing performance. Everybody involved in that movie just did a fantastic job. So Mr. Affleck once again is stepping up to the plate, and he is giving us Argo, which is apparently the story of American nationals being taken. Well, not being taken hostage, but they're being
trapped in Iran.
They're basically trapped in Iran, and they're hiding out, and the American government has got to figure out a way to go in and get them out. And so Ben Affleck's character comes up with the idea of him and his men going in, posing as a film crew for a science fiction movie, and then somehow, connecting with the people hiding out there and just sort of bringing them out. So. Right. Very interesting premise, which is apparently based on a true story.
Apparently this is true.
Yeah.
And kind of, completely improbable and plausible, which is the point, especially because, like, this happened, so you can't...
Exactly. It's not just like, well, that's a stupid idea. Well, it's a stupid idea that apparently worked.
Right.
Or, maybe it didn't. I don't know the actual outcome.
We don't know.
So we'll have to find out.
But pretty cool, I think, that they make it like, oh no, we're going to be shooting this thing that's very much like Dune,
Yeah, exactly. It's like Argo, science fiction story. It takes place on Mars, got to have desert, exotic location, perfect for Iran, No, it's got a lot of great actors in it, Mr. Affleck again, John Goodman is in it, Alan Arkin, the friggin' guy from Breaking Bad, what's in it, Bryan Cranston is in it.
Mr. Cranston.
Again, our pal Zeljko Ivanek, and Bookman from Seinfeld is in it.
Bookman is in it?
Bookman is in it.
Well, great.
What is your deal, Bookman? It's people like you that check out books and don't turn them back in. So they got a great cast compiled. It looks like it's going to be very interesting. Again, Mr. Affleck, he's got two really great movies in his corner, so...
It's got his typical, like, gritty type of style, which actually, now that I think about it, we were talking about Mr. Rian Johnson last week. I think visually they have kind of a similar thing going on. Maybe not in, like, the tone of the movie, but, like, that same... They look the same to me in a lot of ways.
Well, it's possible that they've compared notes. You never know.
I don't think that's true. But
how do you know?
Well, I guess I don't.
Have you talked to Mr. Rian Johnson lately?
Well, I Skyped him last weekend.
Very interesting.
Kind of caught up. He's doing pretty good. He asked about your mom.
What?
Well, no, just like, how's your mother?
I'm leaving.
Say hello to your mother.
Yeah, say hello to your mother. So Argo, it's coming out this Friday. Looks excellent. It's currently holding at a 94% on RottenTomatoes.com. So I'm getting some positive reviews. So I'm hoping to like that. So yeah, Argo, 7 Psychopaths, and Sinister. It's going to be a fun little weekend at the movies.
And then the weekend after that is when the greatest movie of the year is going to come out.
Oh, what would that be?
That would be Alex Cross,
starring
Medea as an action hero.
Oh, Medea as an action hero.
It's going to be great.
Don't cross.
Never cross.
And then you're also going to go see that new Kevin James movie, right?
I don't think so.
What? You were so excited about that. You were.
Yeah, I'm excited that it exists and that one day I can see it on video.
So you're not going to shell out $19 to go see it in a bunch of.
I'll catch it on the Netflix.
Bunch of streaming fan.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, fair enough. Well,
if it was like a slower weekend, maybe, but
unfortunately, we're not going to be able to talk about.
Here Comes the Boom.
Here Comes the Boom. On our next episode.
As I said, I want to see it. I don't think it'll be a good movie. There's a difference between those two
There
things.
is an incredible difference. Absolutely right. So.
Speaking of which, this is a news-worthy thing. So, one of my favorite bad movies of all time, which my good friend Josh Gohagen is the one that exposed me to it. It's called Miami Connection, and it's getting a theatrical release. I'm sure I'm sure it's limited. Like you probably aren't gonna be able to go down to your local community, whatever. Like I think it'll be kind of a limited release.
So the AMC in Times Square isn't gonna be showing this.
Probably. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they do show obscure shit.
Yeah, they do sometimes. Especially if it's like one of the 25 walk-up ones, So Miami Connection is a movie by Y.K. Kim, who is a grandmaster of Taekwondo that has a school set up in Orlando on Colonial, I believe. Yeah, Colonial. And so this movie was shot in the 80s, and it's about YK Kim and a bunch of his students. They play a group of orphans who all live together and practice Taekwondo, and then at night. Well, and then by day also they're students at the University of Central Florida. So a lot of it's shot on the UCF campus.
Go Knights!
And a lot of it's shot in downtown Orlando as well, because by night they're in a rock band called Dragon Sound.
Oh wow, this gets better and better.
It really does.
Wow.
And they have such songs as Against the Ninja, featuring a liberal use of keytar and a guy that looks like he's either Hall or Oates. I can't remember which one of them is the one with the pedophile mustache. Whichever one that is, he looks like that one. And they're up against the Miami Ninja. Who wears all white to distinguish himself from the rest of his ninja clan. Also, Josh was fond of saying this takes place in Kung Fu world, in that like everyone in this world knows like a little bit of martial arts at least. It's all like a matter of degree. But
Of course.
if you like went up to somebody and punched them on the street, they might respond with a jump kick just naturally. Like, of course.
Well, yeah, like you do. So.
Just if you get a chance, please get some of your friends and have a few drinks and see Miami Connection, because it's just great.
So,
it's just a great time.
So let's go over the inventory again. So group of orphans, students by day, Taekwondo practitioners / rock and roll musicians by
also,
night.
By the way, YK Kim has like at least 15 or 20 years on the rest of the group, and so it's like, oh, you're in college and you're an orphan too. Like, well, I'm sure you could be an orphan, but like, what's going on here?
Adults can be orphans too.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Miami Connection, check it out. It sounds.
And it's called Miami Connection, and none of it takes place in Miami, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that just sounds really special.
It is.
So Orlando's own Miami Connection. Check it out. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. Sounds like a super movie. Speaking of super movies.
Oh, what a segue. Look at that.
I know. I am the Segway King. Come on down to Segway World. I'm the Segway King. All right, anyway. Let's jump forward a little bit to the...
Faster than a speeding bullet.
Faster than
we'll
a speeding
jump forward.
In fact, yes, we will jump forward faster than a speeding bullet. The new Superman movie. That's where this is going. The Man of Steel. I don't think we've talked about this in any of our earlier episodes, but...
No, I'm surprised Chief Doolin hasn't been breathing down our necks for not mentioning Superman.
I know. Our good friend Doolin Dalton from Nerdtopiacast is an incredibly big Superman fan, and which is fine. Superman is a fine hero. Not my favorite, in particular. I'm more of a Batman guy, and I think you're more of a Marvel,
I'm a Marvel kid.
Yeah, Marvel kid, Spider-Man, and X-Men and such.
But Superman's where it all started.
Of course, absolutely. He is one of the originals and such.
Yes.
So. Man of Steel coming out. We actually saw the teaser trailer together when we went to see a movie. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember what the movie was, but I remember being kind of interested by the dark, gritty tone, and then I kind of turned to you, and your reaction was...
I was, not excited about it. And I was really underwhelmed by what was shown in the initial trailer, in the teaser trailer.
Right.
Which seemed to show him as, a longshoreman at some point, and I was like, he grew up on a farm. What are you doing?
What's wrong with that?
It's just not in his mythos, and I don't know why it's featured in a teaser trailer. But, so since then, there's been a Comic-Con trailer.
Okay, yeah.
Which shows a lot more stuff and actually got me pretty excited about the movie.
The Comic-Con trailer, from what you can make out of it, you can look it up online. Some of it is a little blurry. It does look like it's going to be pretty frickin' epic, It's cool, you're going to see some superpower battles between Mr. Superman and General Zod.
Kneel before Zod.
Kneel before Zod, absolutely. I think it's got a lot of great casting in it. Kevin Costner as Paul Kent is, I think...
it's just a good idea.
It's pretty ingenious, so you've got that going for it. And then Russell Crowe as Jor-El, I think, is really good casting as well. He's got that, very, Russell Crowe, where he's like, my son, Kal-El, I give you to the planet Earth, and such. So I think that's very good casting. I'm excited about the gentleman playing Zod. Is a fantastic
Michael
actor,
Shannon,
Michael Shannon.
yes.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Boardwalk Empire, check that out.
He plays a really crazy dude on Boardwalk Empire.
Totally.
Who is kind of on the side of the Angels. He's a prohibition agent on Boardwalk Empire called Agent Van Alden.
Yes.
And he's just like, he's basically a paladin. Like, he's a zealot. He'll do anything in order to protect his idea of morality, which is like,
and he's got sort of that like celibacy thing going with him, where like if he has like impure thoughts about another woman that's not his wife, he has to like kind of whip himself,
yeah.
you know, while I guess praying.
Self-flagellation.
So very crazy, kooky character. I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of that as General Zod.
No,
but,
I'm just saying like
it's a very compelling character, and it shows that he's a fantastic actor. So
he's got some villain chops.
He's got some villain chops, so I think he's going to bring a lot to this role of General Zod. So again, yeah, the Comic-Con trailer looks friggin' exciting. I do think they cheated a little bit because they used the music from the Thin Red Line in the trailer, and that
nobody
music,
likes that movie anyway.
Oh, whatever. That music is so epic and thrilling that, you know, somebody could just be reading from a phone book and it would be like, I gotta see that. That's amazing. Come on, they used that music for the trailer for Pearl Harbor, and people were excited about Pearl Harbor until they actually saw it.
Right.
But I think that music kind of amped everybody up.
Now that you mention it, this is kind of a Zack Snyder thing where he takes music from movies that people might not have, like, things that are attached to a certain movie, but that movie didn't become as big a deal as people thought it would be.
Right.
I guess what I'm thinking of in particular is when the Watchmen trailer came out, they had a version of a song from
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, from Batman and Robin. They had that Smashing Pumpkins song, but it was like the slowed down version.
The slowed version.
And it was perfect for the trailer.
Oh, it was great. Oh, I think everyone was like friggin' like, oh my god, what kind of superhero movie is this? I mean, are they villains? Are they heroes? This world is just freaky, you know, and it worked.
And even if you connected it back to Batman, you kind of went like, oh, he's going for like a comic book connection of some sort, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, totally. No, he definitely has a talent for that.
And when Superman shoots lasers out of his eyes, it looks like a thin red line. So, I think you just didn't see what he was going for there, is what I think.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely
You didn't think about that, did you?
No, I planned for everything. I didn't plan on that. Speaking of which, Zack Snyder is a very interesting filmmaker. 300, I really dig. Did you like 300?
Yeah, I did like 300. I'm not so excited that they're doing another 300 now.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
The next 300 or
300 more,
600 or whatever it's gonna be. But 300 was based on a Frank Miller comic,
right?
And he didn't make another one that I know
of. Details, minor little.
Well,
details.
and then this one's not even about the Spartans. This is about like the Athenians defending against the Persian sea invasion.
Oh.
And I don't know where the 300 part is going to come in. I don't think there was ever another battle that was dependent on 300 people.
Right.
Like the Spartan.
Maybe they're going to
battle Thermopylae.
I was going to say maybe they're going to call it something else, but
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I'm game. Like, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we won't know until we actually give her a little look-see. But yeah, no, I really like 300 as well. It had a very interesting visual style that worked very well for the film, because, you know, the film itself is a story being told to other men.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the odder visual components sort of seem like they're very appropriate for like a storybook kind of setting. You know, as a man tells a story, he tends to embellish, you know, like, and the executioner, you know, looked like a monster from your worst nightmares. And so within the movie, the executioner is a man with like lobster claws or something like that, or you know, it is a monster. So the look of the movie was fantastic, and it was just, you know, obviously very exciting. You know, had a very good pace, because it wasn't a very long movie, because it wasn't a very long story, but it was a lot of fun. So
I'm kind of half and half on Zack Snyder, to be honest. Like, I really like 300. I really like the projects he picks. Overall, I really liked Watchmen.
Yeah.
The slow-mo thing. Let's talk about the slow-mo thing.
Okay.
He uses it a lot.
Okay, yeah. He does use it a lot.
He does it quite a bit. And also the violence thing. which, you know, I'm always up for some good violence.
Yeah.
But I guess that's my concern in him making a Superman movie. Superman is, you know, up there with Captain America as, well, even more than Captain America, because Captain America was a soldier.
Yeah, he used a gun.
Yeah. Whereas, like, Superman is supposed to be, like, one of those iconic, like, look up to him, he's gonna do no wrong.
Drink your milk, kids.
Drink your milk, kids. I'm Superman.
Yeah. So you don't think? So you're afraid he's gonna have?
Well, and my only
tearing people's heads off and.
I don't know. I don't think he'll do. I think he has a little more sense than to do that.
Right.
But I mean, like, okay, in Watchmen, he did have two of the characters that are supposed to be like that. He had Night Owl and Silk Spectre.
Right.
Who are supposed to generally be like kind of the good guys of the group.
Yeah.
We're on a team with like Rorschach and the comedian who are willing to just do whatever.
Yeah.
Night Owl and Silk Spectre were supposed to be kind of some of the balancing elements. At no point in the comic, I don't think, do you see them murder people in cold blood like they do in that alley scene in the movie.
But it was fun. It was
It's
almost
not
like a little
fun. It took me out of it. It was like, whoa.
It's a little date that they went on.
Yeah, it would have been fun if they didn't kill those guys. Like,
Yeah. That's true.
that's supposed to be the.
Or just even like the one scene where like Rorschach disappears into the bathroom with the one guy, and then he comes out and the door kind of swings open and you see the blood all over the wall. And Night Owl and Silk Spectre, instead of just being like Rorschach or my God, man, they're just like, oh well, wah.
That's
So,
our Rorschach.
I was gonna say it did sort of make it a little hard to understand what the director, what they were going for with those characters. Like, all right, are they the moral balancing force for the movie, or are they no better than the comedian or Rorschach? It's just cute that they happen to be a couple,
Yeah, I mean, I guess my problems overall with Zack Snyder are minor, in that I do generally just enjoy the things he produces. What do you know anything else he's done besides like Before 300?
Only Before 300?
Yeah.
No, I'm not familiar. I only know of his work from 300 on. I've seen 300, which I really liked. I saw Watchmen, which I initially very much enjoyed in theaters. I haven't seen it since then, so I don't know if it will hold up, but I really did like it when I first saw it. He did Sucker Punch.
Oh, that was him, yeah.
Yeah,
Sucker Punch was pretty cool.
Was it good? I didn't see it all the way through.
It's like not. It's not complicated.
Okay, fair enough.
It's I think out of those three options, out of like between that and 300 and Watchmen, that would be like kind of the weaker of the three. But it's a fun movie with like hot girls swinging swords and guns around.
Can't really complain about that.
It's kind of like they almost do an Inception level thing where it's like a fantasy world inside a fantasy world inside a fantasy world. And I think they kind of lose the plot in some aspects there, so that's a little unnecessary. But it was fun. It was fun overall.
Well, the trailer looked, again, visually stunning, like you would expect from Mr. Schneider.
I remember when it came out, I was talking to a coworker about it, and they were like, oh man, I just don't know about this movie. And I was like, oh, well, what was wrong with it? And they were like, well, at one point, there's this giant samurai robot thing, and he's having a samurai fight with the main girl who's got a katana, and he knocks her into a wall. And I'm like, all her bones would have been broken. And I said to him, like, well, that takes place inside of one of the fantasy worlds, right? And he's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So A, that
fantasy.
It's a fantasy, and B, it's like, you're talking to me, and I spent my whole life watching anime and reading comic books. I'm kind of okay with that. Like,
right. And so, wait, you
suspend your disbelief a little bit.
So you have a problem with her not breaking all of her bones when she gets into the wall, but you don't have a problem with any of the other weird things that you've seen in the movie?
That she suddenly knows, like,
exactly.
Kenjutsu and, like...
it's just like a killing machine when before she was just, a frail, helpless. Well, I would be willing to accept that, but not the other thing.
Right, that was the thing that broke his resolve.
The straw that broke the camel's back. Well, that's unfortunate.
So anyway, Sucker Punch was pretty okay.
Okay, I'll have to check it out at some point.
Yeah.
It did look interesting. I never saw his Owl movie. He did an Owl movie.
About Night Owl?
No. He did a movie... a CGI movie about owls.
He made that one?
Yeah, that's the Guardians of Galkin, the Guardians of...
I think it's just called The Guardians.
Oh,
Legend of the... Wait.
Yeah,
Legend of the Guardians?
I think The Guardians, Legend of... Here, talk for a second. I'm going to go look this up.
Actually, like... Once again, like, a movie that I kind of really wanted to see, even though I wasn't sure it would be
Well,
good.
you know, it was a CGI owl movie. I
Yeah.
saw a little bit of it on TV, I think at a friend's house. I thought what little I saw of it was interesting. Why am I on Facebook? I need to be on IMDb. Yeah, no.
It looked like a fun movie about CGI owls going to war or whatever they're doing.
I
know pretty much nothing about the plot. I just remember
guess.
I got into a conversation with my friend Mark, who I was like, hey buddy, he's a friend from back home. I was like, hey buddy, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I just came from the movies. And I was like, what'd you go to see? And he was like, oh, I just saw that stupid owl movie. I was like, oh great. And he's like, yeah, I got a big bag of popcorn and a big Slurpee and sat there, and I was the only one in the theater and watched this owl movie in 3D, and it was great. And I was like, that sounds fun.
Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole is what it's called.
Oh, there is a funny word in there.
Yeah, Ga'Hoole.
Ga'Hoole.
And yes, it was in fact directed by Mr. Zack Snyder, featuring Hugo Weaving as one of the voices.
Oh, hey.
I'm just going to read to you from IMDb for the rest of the episode. No, I'm kidding. Again, I saw a few minutes of it, and it seemed fine. Again, it's a CGI owl movie. I think mainly, you know, for kids, but
yeah, and considering all of that it's like it's a stupid owl movie for kids. Like,
yeah.
It looked pretty fun and good.
No, it looked pretty fun and good. You know, some very good, you know, CGI going on there. Again, not supposed to look real. This is an animated kids movie, but so yes, he's got that under his belt as well. So Zack Snyder presenting us The Man of Steel. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see. Hopefully he doesn't go too overboard with the slow-mo. I think with Superman, though, there are going to be some opportunities for him to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
But, you know, we'll see. I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, hopefully a return to a viable Man of Steel franchise, which I think that they were trying to do a few years ago with Superman Returns, which
I didn't like that.
No, I didn't like that. I was disappointed in our friend Brian Spencer there, who usually.
Brian Spencer?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Who's Brian Spencer?
Brian Singer.
Oh, okay. I was like, we have a friend I don't know. Damn, I'm a bad friend. Yeah,
Mr. Singer, who is a great director.
He's a great director who dropped out of the X-Men movies in order to do this movie.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he wanted to do both, but you know,
But
Hollywood is kind of a pushy bully sometimes.
Yeah, the studio was not very cool with him on the X-Men movies, so I get it, but
yeah, it was a little disappointing. I mean, not everything about the movie is bad. They do get some things right with it, but if you're resurrecting a franchise with a character as iconic with Superman, you want to do something great with this story.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to repeat Lex Luthor's whole real estate thing, which is, I'm going to do something with land again.
Well, and also, I think my main thing is if you're resurrecting a franchise like that, or attempting to, I think the one of the first things you do can't be to screw with the mythos, in which you like, oh, Lois is married, and now there's a super baby.
Yep.
That's not like a main part of Superman's universe where she marries somebody else and
right
has a kid by him that he's been a deadbeat dad to.
He's been a deadbeat dad to,
trying to find Krypton,
and then flies off again after the events of the movie happen. I'm sure he'll be fine, kid. I'll never see him again. It's interesting because this movie is supposed to take place sometime after the events of Superman 2, if I've got my time right. So it is kind of disconcerting watching this movie. You know, you can't help but think to yourself, so how many years after this does he run into Richard Pryor and become bad Superman and like bend the cannon on a tank in a comic fashion?
Right.
Or how many years after this does he meet up with Nuclear Man and try to court Mariel Hemingway? Where the hell's the kid then?
People like to focus on the Richard Donner Superman movies, but like not pay any heed to the ones that came after that, which is probably understandable, but at the same time, it's like, well, those were part of that franchise too. You can't just be picking and choosing here.
You can't just ignore them. No, they existed. Superman 3, I don't think it had another title, and then Superman 4, which was the Quest for Peace, where he decides to rid the world of nuclear weapons, whether they like it or not, which I always thought was kind of funny. You know, it was good on him for wanting to do some, you know, real good, but I don't think all the countries agreed on that, but whatevs. Yeah, people do like to ignore those movies, and I don't really blame them. They're not very good, but yeah, it's very interesting that this movie is supposed to take place after the events of Superman 2, but they introduce a kid and a husband into the mix. Neither one of those exists in Superman 3 or 4.
Or in the comics.
Or in the comics, for that matter. So, again, it was very odd. I don't mind the fact that Bryan Singer tried to ape the style of the original Donner Superman.
No, that's totally fine.
That's totally fine. And I think he did a fine job with it, too. You know, within his own, you know, vision, you know, he was able to sort of recapture some of that magic and put his own spin on it. But again, it's just there wasn't enough going on, you know. I'm not saying, every scene needed to be an action scene, but this is Superman. In a day and age where technology has finally caught up where you can really do some cool things with him now. But to just kind of fall back on, you know, more of the same, or it's Luthor again, and it's like, you know, is playing around with dirt, you know. It's just like, oh, Luthor and dirt. That's a combination we've never seen before.
The most exciting scene in the movie occurs when he actually returns and saves the plane.
Yes, absolutely. There's a moment, the plane is like, tumbling to its doom, you know, and everyone on board is, you know, terrified and whatnot. Lois is there, she's terrified, and she just kind of glances out the window, and she just sees his form just zip by, you know, and it's just like this moment of realization on her face, like, you know, he'll always be there to save her, you know. It's like he's back, you know, such a great moment. Him stopping the plane, and the music is swelling up, you know.
It occurs, like, towards the beginning of the movie.
It occurs towards the beginning of the movie, so they might have blown their nut a little bit.
Yeah, and it's like, Luthor never presents... There's no boss battle of any sort.
There is no boss battle. He kind of tosses the kryptonite at him.
Yeah.
He does get a great moment where he does stab Superman, and then, you know, kind of...
And Kevin Spacey's
fantastic as like Luthor. You know, he gets to say, you know, so long, Superman, which comes out really well from Mr. Spacey. Although I think I kind of agree with my friend Rick. This is kind of weird, but I think Christopher Walken as Lex Luthor, that's something my friend Rick has been suggesting for a very long time. I mean, Superman. This alien from another planet. We're gonna, you know, it's like, so long, Superman. You know, it would just be fantastic. But
it could be good.
It could be good. I'd be kind of hard to picture him bald, but
yeah, that would be a little strange for me. But
you could make it work.
It could work.
You could totally make it work.
One of my other pet peeves with this movie is, so this is supposed to take place 5 years after the events of Superman 2, right? And by Superman 2, Lois Lane's already like, you know, she's a veteran reporter. She's got some years under her belt.
God, I know where
so now this is 5 years later, and she's squeezed a super kid out. And who do they cast as Lois Lane? Like 20-year-old Kate Bosworth. I'm like, what? You're like, I'll buy her as Lois Lane like Lois Lane when she's just starting out.
Right.
And
I'm a hardened reporter.
Right. I'm a veteran. You look like an intern. What
I got 2 Nobel Prizes under my belt. I wasn't bothered by that.
I was super bothered by it.
You were super bothered by it.
I was super bothered by it.
Yeah, no, it didn't bug me. I don't know. I just, I was willing to buy. You know, if I'm willing to buy a man dressed in red and blue tights, you know, flying around with freeze breath and heat vision, I can buy that Kate Bosworth is playing Lois Lane. I understand where you're coming from. I see what you're saying. It just, personally for me, it didn't bother me, so I was willing to accept that. But one other brief point I will mention about Superman Returns, and I think we got to wrap this episode up, is it does pay attention to the ultimate tragedy of Superman and what Superman is, at least in one moment of the movie. Because Superman's ultimate tragedy is the fact that he can never save everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to be too late to save somebody, no matter how powerful he is. And there was a fantastic moment in this movie where he's hovering above planet Earth, and he can just hear, like, all of the crime on the planet just happening. You know, he's got this kind of, like, sad, solemn look on his face, just, like, so much he has to do. And he zips into action. What does he do? He goes right back to Metropolis to stop a bank robbery. So amidst all of the murderous, you know, screams and the pleas for help, and I'm drowning, and this person is shooting me, and oh God, lava is after me, and there's a swarm of killer bees after me, he goes to stop a jewel heist in the heart of his hometown. Because, returning is very hard work, and I'm sure he was tired. He just wanted to start out light, just a little,
Just go with what you know.
Exactly, go with what you know. So, sorry, rest of the world, but that jewel heist is much more important than the rhino chasing the small 5-year-old in Africa.
Everybody needs a good shot in the eyeball to warm him up again.
Absolutely, and again, that was a pretty cool moment. But
Yes.
Again, overall, the movie was a bit of a failure. But so hopefully, Mr. Schneider's Man of Steel will.
Well, we shall see. When does that come out again?
Later. I think it comes out.
Next year certainly.
Yeah, I think it comes out next summer. So
Okay.
Sometime in the summer, we should be looking forward to Mr. Snyder's Man of Steel.
Excellent.
And that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you again for joining us. Remember to please stop by www.Filmtopiacast.com for some awesome content. Content rather. I can't talk today. Some awesome content. You've got some of my movie reviews. You've got a lot of other great articles by some very talented writers on the site. So definitely check it out. It is worth your while.
I personally am a fan of Mr. Basarap?
Basarap? My
and his-
apologies to Mr. Basarap. I've never actually met you in person or actually spoken to you. So
I really like Catching Up is Hard to Do.
catching up is hard to do. Is a lot of
And the
fun.
potentially Fantastic Four.
Mr. Chuck with his Chuck Gives Bleep is a great series of articles. You've got
We've
Sarah
dropped
Lynn
F-bombs
Evans.
before.
I know, but
Greg's parents may be listening.
my
so-
parents might be listening. They don't like it when I say naughty things. Sarah Lynn Evans with her articles on video games. You got Mr. Doolin Dalton's Versus series.
Mhm.
Just a lot of great content on the website.
Go check it out.
Go check it out. And again, I'm Greg McIver. I've been your host, and this is my co-host,
Nicky Boom Boom.
Nicky Boom Boom. We will catch you next time.